We have Stan Deyo with us. Usually he joins us in the last hour, but he is fresh off of his trip from Africa, and he has a number of guests coming on with him. They are Jared and Kristen, and they are from blackseajewelers.com. And go to standeyo.com, go bookmark that website, and there you can go to the show images page. I'm going to open it up now. Yes. He has them all up there from the Stan Deyo show images, June 5th, 2018. And these are the images from his recent trip to Africa. And I got to tell you, man, some of these are so beautiful. We're not going to spoil it by showing you guys who on screen who might not have it up yet. We'll wait for Stan to come on so he can explain each one in detail. But many people were asking, where was Stan? Can we have an update from Stan? When's he coming back? When is he going to come on and tell us what happened? Well, this is it. This is when he's coming on, and it is going to be very interesting. And again, what I said at the beginning of the show, I'm going to open with Stan by asking him. I know in Scripture it talks about a physical location for the Garden of Eden, but I've listened to a number of lectures on different interpretations of the Garden of Eden. And some people believe it was only spiritual. Other people believe it was in the world. Some people believe that it was both, a mixture of the spiritual and the physical world. And I just want to see what Stan's thought on that is, because obviously if it was only a spiritual place, he wouldn't have gone to Africa to look for the origins of the Garden of Eden.
Well, here's a question for you, Joe. We know that that after the original sin, after the serpent beguiled Eve, and then, of course, she said, "Hey, honey, look what I found." They were cast out of the garden, and then there were, if I remember my scripture correctly, fiery cherubim that guarded that location and prevented them from returning to the garden. Joe, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to anyway.
Okay.
What do you think? What do you think? Is the Garden of Eden, is it a spiritual place, kind of like what we think of as heaven, or can we go to the terra firma of the Garden of Eden?
That's a good question. I don't know enough about it. I would say that if I had to guess, it was both a combination of a spiritual. As we know, they had the cherubims there, and they were protected, and it was paradise. And through the sin and fall of man, all those protections and paradise was taken away, and it exposed man to death. And we have Stan on with us. Stan, I was just talking I don't know how much you heard, but since you left, I was listening to a number of studies on people's opinions on the Garden of Eden, and it seemed like there was three trains of thought. One was it was only a physical Garden of Eden, where it was just on this world. The second train of thought is that it was a spiritual garden, that it was, not on this world, spiritual in nature only until the fall. And then the third is that it was both. It was on the world, but it was spiritual in nature. What's your opinion on that, Stan?
Well, first of all, the translations in Genesis about the Garden of Eden using modern Hebrew and then to English does not tell you the complete story. I'm convinced that there was a physical Garden of Eden in Tanzania where we went. I followed every clue in the Bible that I could find related to the Garden of Eden and its location. And when you talk about the fiery cherubim guarding, protecting the gateway to Eden, or the Garden of Eden, you have to go into the Proto-Hebrew, the Old Hebrew. And in those days, a cherub, was a strong thing that moved mountains. And it was not a being, it was a physical process. And that was Kilimanjaro. They said that they were east of the Garden of Eden, where you put those cherubim. And you have Kilimanjaro and two satellite volcanoes right with it. The locals call it, the Kilimanjaro, they call it the Mountain of Light. And the translation of the fiery sword that, the flaming sword that the angel had or the cherub had to guard it, really says that spiraling, sparkling fire that came up out of the mountain, which was Kilimanjaro. And that lighted, that preserve the way to the Garden of Eden. Remember, Moses is writing this down as God dictated to him in the Exodus. And at that time, the references were to countries that were known for gold, or, various other factors. And one of those factors was that Madagascar was known for its gold. So King Solomon got his gold of the three places. That was one of the biggest ones. And that's, of course, off the coast of Tanzania. So if you put that into context when Moses was talking about it versus when it was written, you see that the Garden of Eden, east of that, was where Kilimanjaro is. You just follow the directions that they tell you. You and Satan walk in the hot stones of Eden, and you know that there are volcanoes, at least 42 of them, that are now quiet around Ngoro Plateau. Old Goino, the Mountain of God, is a volcano that's still active at the northern tip of the Eden Plateau, but it is a real physical place. And in Hebrew, Garden of Eden is called Gan Eden. Gan is a hedged-in place so that the animals can't get to you, or the animals can't get out. Animals in or out with this type thing. So the crater, the Ngoro crater, is a physical place. It's got walls all the way around, circular walls. It's about 7,000 feet above sea level and about 2,000 feet above the crater floor or the walls. Circular walls, just like they say in the Old Hebrew. So I'm positive that we've located the Garden of Eden physically. Now, did God have a communication between his kingdom, his universe, his parallel universe, and Earth, our universe, at the garden? Possibly, because something did change when Adam and Eve sinned. They could no longer talk or listen to God the way they used to. They knew something was wrong, that the communication had been interrupted. So at that time, maybe the parallel universe, the connection was broken. But for the main part, I was sure that we could find a physical place where they did the act of eating the forbidden fruit, and where they had originally named the animals as God marched them in front of them and said, okay, that's an elephant, that's a zebra. Kristina likes the zebra. I meard every time we heard the zebra, she was with the camera and screaming, zebra. But anyway, that was probably Adam's fault, named it the zebra. But anyway, yeah. So long answer to your question, I'm positive that there's a physical place today, which was the remnant of the Garden of Eden. And we can talk about that between us here, about what we sensed there, what we saw, what we felt. But we're not the first ones, to say it was like the Garden of Eden. I'm the first one, however, to prove that it is the Garden of Eden. Many of the 2 million people have been through that Ngoro crater have said it's like the Garden of Eden. The tour companies, they say, come see Africa's Garden of Eden. Well, I guarantee you, 3 of us have had a life-changing experience when we went to this place. There are things you feel and see in this crater that are, well, supernatural, I guess. That's all I can say. Don't you think so, Jared, Kristina?
Absolutely, Stan. It was a wonderful experience. And for all the viewers at home, thank you guys for checking us out and supporting us. And what an amazing trip it was to be with Stan Deyo live, narrating us along as we made our pilgrimage back to that wonderful place.
It was quite a entrance as well. Like, it looked like God definitely was guiding us so easy and smoothly with the beginning. Like, Stan, you can note the names of the person we met in the airplane. Remember?
Yes. If people go to our show images page to slide 57, you'll see me sitting there across the aisle from a guy named Otis Adamson, Adam's son.
Yes. And
at this time, we didn't know what was at the location we were going to go see up in the north, which was this mystery source of the waters of Eden that came up and watered the garden. But I had to prove that there was water there. This guy had actually been there. He's a native, and he was going home for a visit. And son of Adam, I thought, wow, how coincidental. And so I whipped out the computer. They were right there in the airplane. And I said, this is where we're headed. He said, oh, yeah, that's such and such, And
there were like people on behind us, like watching, like filming, like, wow, that's interesting. And then also when we were going to the lodge, remember the elephant when just stood there and just fitting, and we were just passing with the Jeep, and we were like, hold on a second. As Jared was saying, we're not, like, how can you say, fenced. This is not fenced. The elephant is just right there watching us and just fitting it himself. It was, wow. The whole entrance was like, okay, you're welcome. I'm going to show you more. So it was like, yeah, one after
we
one.
we felt the good Lord's presence all along the trip. Little coincidental things that happened all along the way. And as Kristina was saying, when we came up on the crater rim, just coming in from Arusha, from a 4-hour drive from there, the place is just rich with trees and vines and bushes, all kinds of stuff like that. You'd know that you're in the jungle, but a peaceful jungle. And as we were coming up that first time, as Kristina said, to the right of the vehicle, there was an elephant probably 8 feet away from us. I mean, he could have reached over and touched it with his trunk. And we just had the windows rolled down and we're filming him. He was having his breakfast, kind of munching along. He wasn't bothered by us or anything. And of course, we find the elephant very special in the whole process here for the wisdom that the elephants exhibit in the memory. And so that was our first kind of sign that, things are going to be really great, and they continue to get greater all along the trip. I can't stress enough how people need to go themselves and see what's there. I didn't want to go. Jared has been bugging me for like 5 months to go down to Tanzania and go to the Garden of Eden. And I kept telling him, get lost. I'm too old, too tired. I don't want to do that. It's true, isn't it, Jared?
It is. You thought you were retired there in your Colorado home and could just ease off into the sunset. No, sir. You got more to do and more expeditions to go on and more discoveries to unearth. And being with Stan this time, guys, you don't really realize it, but whenever you get with him, even for his age, he is so incredibly
passionate,
very passionate. But his mind just never stops. He wants to continue learning. He's very curious about everything. So it was just a great experience being with Stan on this trip.
I want to just take a quick moment. Stan, welcome back. John Robertson sitting in for Doug this evening. I just want to introduce Jared and Kristina Groetsch, who are Stan's special guests this evening. And of course, we're going to do what we like to do with dear friends of the program like Stan Deyo, who really is one of the foundational building blocks that built the Hagmann Report. So Stan, we will hand it over to you, sir, to sort of conduct the interview and keep things flowing. But I did want to give Jared and Kristina a proper introduction. I had the opportunity, and it was really an honor to speak with Jared for a few moments offline today. And these are incredible people. This couple, as Joe was mentioning a few moments ago, they have a company, and what they do is they find all of the indigenous semi-precious stones and precious stones and rare earths and precious metals, etc. And Jared, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounded like you have a spiritual unction through the Lord to craft these beautiful pieces. And if our listeners and viewers will go visit the website, and I've got it right here, it's Black Sea Jewelry. Jewelers. I'm sorry. Thank you, Kristina. BlackSeaJewelers.com. I was admiring, Stan, you were talking about this incredible elephant encounter. That elephant ring with the pretty little blue stones in it is just absolutely beautiful. So, Jared, Kristina, it's your debut appearance with us. Welcome to the Hagmann Report. Stan, back to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I hope that Doug is okay. I heard that he might have been a bit ill. Is that correct?
He's a little under the weather. He's got a business trip coming up tomorrow, so he's not feeling the greatest, but hopefully he snaps out of it and we get him back to full health within the next 12 hours. I'm hoping.
Well, we will keep him in our prayers like people did for us when we were gone too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, okay. Jared's mom Marge is really about prayer warrior for the Lord, and she had a whole group of people praying for us on the trip, and I'm sure we felt the result of that every step of the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, now back to things like the elephant with the little blue stone. If people want to go to their site, to Black Sea Jewelers, go to slide 40 and click on the picture there. It'll take you straight to their website, to our garden site. Now, the way this works on their team over there is Jared uses computers and 3D graphics to design a piece, whatever, earring, ring, whatever. And then they make a wax mold, and Kristina casts it in the metal that you're going to have it in, and then polishes it, puts the stones in it to go with the item. Now, for this trip, Jared designed a coin. It's 7-sided, isn't it? I forget. You got the coin
Correct.
there?
Yes, that's correct. You can show.
All right. Yeah, just show it. 7-sided, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, that has the elephant on one side, and it says about our expedition in 2018. And on the flip side, it has a 3D model of the Ngoro Plateau, or the Garden of Eden, where the water flowed down to all those places. Hold it right there. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. Okay, now that was designed and then put into wax and then cast. And we made 7 of those and gave them to particular people there in the crater that helped us. The rangers, and the head of deputy head of the NCAA, which takes care of the Conservancy for the Ngoro crater. They were pleased as much to get these. And at least 7 were not numbered. They're the original 7. We're going to make numbered copies for everyone else later, but it's a wonderful piece. Now, we got there, and first day, you kind of get out to the airport at about 8 o'clock in the evening, so you're absolutely clobbered. They take you into Arusha. When I say they, it's Elion Tours, and that Amos and Ellie, his partner, his brother-in-law, actually. And they treated us like, well, I got to tell you, as soon as we got there in the parking lot at the airport, trying to get in and use the Land Cruiser, they had Maasai warrior robes for us. And I think you've got yours there. Mine is on the way to the cleaners. I put it off here, so I'm sorry. But it's like Jared's, a red one like that. These are the robes that we got. And so they wrapped those around us, and we were there as special guests all of a sudden. Went to the hotel.
Wait, so hold on a sec, Stan. Are those? Did you say those are Maasai warrior wraps? Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. This is going to be great. What an adventure.
Yes.
Oh, it was. It was a real adventure. It's kind of still going on, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we went to the hotel there. The Meru Hotel, is that the name of that hotel we went to there?
Yes. Yes.
And had a good night's sleep the next morning. I was late getting up, as usual. Everybody was waiting for me at the meeting there downstairs, but we got together and planned the expeditions that we were going to take. One, of course, to the crater floor, to the proper Garden of Eden down there, and to another place up in the north. Well, it's called Komnana.
Kamunana.
No, Kamo. I got it from Ellie. He said Komnana, K-U-M or K-O-M, N-A, Komnana.
Okay.
I had to write it down here because
I wrote it down. Let me find out. You keep on talking, I'll find out for you.
Anyway, that place, while we were preparing to go over to Tanzania, I discovered I was plotting to find a low point, the lowest point where the water would come from, this northwestern part of the crater, or of the plateau. And I found that there was a perfect square down there at 9,630 feet altitude. And then at 1 foot from that, the square got a little bit bigger and a little bit more rectangular and so forth, up for probably another 10 or 15 feet. And I couldn't figure out what had made these square impressions that you can't see visually, but you can see it if you contour it in Google Earth. So, that was an expedition that we wanted to go to for sure, to see what was there. Was it something that the Maasai used for feeding watering animals? Or was it something the Germans left during World War II when they were in the area? We didn't know. And we still aren't positive because it's underwater, but we didn't go to investigate that. And that was the second expedition we needed to go on. And we also need to go to Olduvai Gorge, which is outside, about 5 miles outside the Ngoro crater. Garden of Eden to see where the hominid man was discovered by the leakies. Now, that's a different kind of man than the Adamic man. The man that God built is connected to God spiritually, communication-wise, different than just normal hominid, bipeds.
He had the neshama breathed inside of him, the breath of living souls, right?
Right, absolutely. So there's a difference, and that's probably who Cain eventually married over on the eastern side of the Garden of Eden, which was, they were outside of the garden when they raised. Adam and Eve were pushed out. They had the children outside the garden, probably the Omo Valley. But east of there, when the continents were all together, was India, in the Indus Valley. And strange enough, Hindu, is being the men shall wander as fugitives. Now Cain was marked with the blood mark, that little red mark in the front of his head, so no one would kill him. And when you ask the Bindi mark, when you ask the Indians about it, they don't know why they put that on there, but the whole Indus River Valley is from the verb, Hindu, meaning the men shall wander as fugitives. So we're pretty certain that's where Cain met his wife over God was there. Even the Prime Minister of India said that the Ethiopians and the Northeast Africans have a common genetic bloodline with their positive. The two are linked. And that was when the continents were together. Anyway,
this type of narration we're getting firsthand for like 7 days, guys. It was incredible. We got fed constantly. We stayed late into the night to get more feeding from Stan. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you spend 30 years looking for the joint, you pick up a few things to share with folks. Yeah. Well, look, anytime I interrupt, if you got something to say, I tend to waffle on, but
well,
okay. Now,
yeah, go. You keep going, Stan, because I really don't. I mean, I don't even know what to ask. You just take it away.
Okay. All right. The arguments that people make trying to put down my thesis on this being the real Garden of Eden is that I say that we have a young Earth, young universe, that there's an era in the carbon-14 or other radiometric dating techniques that if we apply the Satterfield shift, Barry Satterfield's equation to this, from the Big Bang till now, the speed of light, which is a determinant factor in radiometric dating of fossils and things, the speed of light used to be 10 to 60 zeros faster than it is now, which meant that radioactive decay was faster, hugely faster. And so our universe, it might be 100,000 years old, it might be 500,000, but not 15 billion. And the Earth, and the stories about Garden of Eden being back at around 4,000 BC, I don't have a problem with that, but my critics do. They say, oh, no, it couldn't possibly be because we dated the rocks, by carbon-14 or by various gases, that decay. And therefore, we know it's millions of years old. It couldn't be the place. That's their argument there. The second thing they grizzle at me about is I'm in camp of people that say, scientists that say the Earth used to be 3/4 the diameter it is now, was smaller. And what caused the big flood was an asteroid that hit on the east side of India, and I found that. It made a crater 250 miles in diameter. Now that asteroid caused the Earth to slow, caused the skin of the Earth to crumple up and push India up to make the Himalayas in China, and it caused the Earth to expand. It heated up the waters of the deep when it broke up the fountains of the deep. And the water was hot, just like the Hebrew says. The waters that rose up during Noah's flood, they were hot. And the rain that came was because the water was vaporized by this massive asteroid impact, and it went up into the sky, cooled, and rained. And after it finished doing all that, we didn't have, like a canopy shielding us from the sun. And for the first time, we had clouds. That meant we would have a rainbow. And that's why the scripture says that God said to Noah, I'm going to put my bow in the sky so you'll know that I won't do this again. But that's what did that. And it also took away the shielding for our bodies from ultraviolet from the sun. And of course, we age quicker. And so instead of being able to live 800 or 900 years, we were cut down to about 120 maximum. Anyway, all that, these are the arguments they use against me and say, well, you can't say that the Earth was smaller, that gravity was 70% stronger, and all this kind of rubbish. It's impossible. So when you're dealing with that kind of a mind, it doesn't open up and say, all right, so why are you saying this? Can we analyze this? When you're dealing with a closed mind, you're not going to win. So I'm speaking to people who will be truly scientific and say, okay, let us say the Earth was smaller. Let us say that the continents were together, like this, and it was in recent times. If that's the case, then the rest of the argument I give you is easy to follow and easy to prove. The Ngoro crater in the middle of the Ngoro Conservancy in Tanzania is the Garden of Eden. So many people have been there visiting, like millions. Even Prince Charles and his son went there. The Clintons did too, and Obama. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Thing is, well, look, it is. If you look at the blogs on the thing of the Ngoro crater, you'll see people just saying, "Oh, it was like the Garden of Eden." What did we notice, Jared and Christine? What did we notice? The feeling there.
And Stan, you guys hold that thought. What we're going to do is we are going to reconnect. Stan, your audio for some reason is coming across real low, so we're going to reconnect with you. That's why we're taking this break. And then our other guest, Jared and Kristina, if you guys can squish together just a little bit more, we can see just you guys are just positioned so it's cutting off part of your guys' face. So we're going to regroup. We're going to reconnect with Stan, and we're going to try to get all this squared away. And when we come back, Hour 3 with Stan Deyo, with Jared and Kristina of BlackSeaJewelers.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back to this Tuesday edition of the Hagmann Report. We have with us Stan Deyo, fresh off of his trip from Africa. Go to StanDeyo.com. There you can click the show images page, and you click on the Hagmann Report images, and you can see all the beautiful pictures that Stan had taken from his trip. All kinds of great stuff, from hanging out with the locals to the wildlife and on and on and on. Go to StanDeyo.com and go to the show images and check that out. Definitely, I'm going to go through those tonight and really take a closer look at all this stuff, Stan, because it's a lot to take in just a short amount of time, especially when we're trying to host the show. So I'm going to turn it back over to you. You were talking during the break about a place that you visited, and thanks for being able to get the audio fixed during the break, because that was a huge help. No, we can't hear him. That's funny. All right, we will. So you can see him? Yeah. Okay, so Stan, I don't know what happened from the break until now.
Try that.
There we go.
Try that. I hit the wrong button.
Wear your glasses, Stan. Wear your glasses.
Okay, let's get back to business here.
All right.
Okay. The main purpose of this trip, as far as I was concerned, was to make the last proof that this was the Garden of Eden, and that was to prove that green spot on Google Earth up at 9,600 feet or so was a source of water. And so to get there, we had to go by land cruiser, probably 26 miles. I forget how many kilometers that is, but we got up there, and then we had to get out of that and go by foot, trek into the area about another 3.5 miles round trip to where we got back to our cruiser. At 9,600, 10,000 feet, it's a bit of a trial because the air is a little bit thinner, and I was kind of out of shape for that kind of a thing. But we did manage to do that, and we crested over. We were 10,000 feet, and we got to the edge of the crest and looked down into the area that I'd seen in Google Earth. And the first thing that greeted us was numerous fountains, springs that came up to make a lake there to feed, to water the animals and the people there, the Maasai. It was proof, and we were overjoyed at that, and went down 400-foot, thing down into the crater, well, the lake bed there, and we did notice there was something there. If you look at slide 86 on our show images page, it's Kumnana had an X. If you click on that and see the big picture, you'll see a natural X formed in the side of the hill. And so we laughed and saying, this is like an Indiana Jones movie. X marks the spot. We found it. So anyway, you can have a bit of fun looking at that. We did baptize Jared and Kristina. They're the first European Christians, as far as we know, to be there and also to be baptized in the waters of Eden. very special privilege for you guys.
Indeed, it was.
Thank you for that.
Well, that was about all I could do after all that trek. Let me tell you, I was ready to sit down on a rock somewhere. But you can see the pictures of this the springs. If you go to slide 83 and 84, you'll see one of our rangers there, the fellow next to me in slide 84, I think it is, Malita. And behind us, there are the springs. You can see the different puddles. And during the year, various times, various seasons, that gets drier or more water. But that's where a large amount of water, enough to make several Mississippi rivers, gushed up in the time of the Garden of Eden and flowed over. And I've traced all those things. It flowed over and downhill, down to the Ngoro crater, which is all part of this whole Garden of Eden plateau. Now, is there anything else you guys remember about Kumnana?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever we got out of the Land Cruiser and it was time to start hiking, we looked around and there were some locals there with their animals, and they all had plastic barrels on their sides, and we're talking with the guys like, where are they going? And like, well, they're going to water their herd. Well, they're climbing uphill somewhere. And we're like, where are they going to go? And it's the direction we're going. So we're like, wow, so there is water up here. Okay, so that was more exciting. So as we started pushing through and trekking through, it seemed like a long time, but it happened very fast. A local lady appeared out of nowhere. Yes. And
Just running after us. And Jared was behind with the camera, and we were walking in the front. And I turned because I saw that somebody's just like flying down, kind of. And she was kind of like, she wanted to take his hand and just like apologize. I'm sorry. I know it's hard to get here. Pole. Make it easy. Like step by step. Like we were like, wow. Like,
yeah, she's making it easy for us to get down those difficult pathways that the animals make.
Yeah, there are no paths. They're just goat trails that you have to kind of find your way with your boots.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I also go ahead.
Go on about the woman. Go on.
Oh no, the woman, she had a cell phone.
Yeah, we were talking to her, trying to get the name of this place, Kumnana, and so she was telling us that means it's a question. Kumnana means is this the earring? A thing that they greatly prize, and so when they come over the hill and they see that water, greatly prized jewel, and they call it Kumnana. And so we were all intrigued with this. We're talking amongst ourselves there on the hillside, and we hear her cell phone ringing under her Maasai robe, and I'm thinking, we're at 10,000 feet in the middle of, and she's got a cell phone. So we were suitably impressed.
Yeah, and I remember you said, call Holly. Let's call Holly. And we were trying to call, and there is no reception. It's like, how is this happening? Like, AT&T towers are here. Like,
I know. I think it was that village back down the hill we saw coming up ahead, that AT&T thing, or was maybe something connected to that.
Right. So before we get to the actual spot, after we've trekked so long and getting sunburned, and everybody's tired, but we're still pushing on, and we don't know exactly where the location is. Even the guides that maybe one has been there, they're not 100% sure of the exact location. So as we get up to the precipice and we climb over, and then you can see down, the guides and us, we kind of look at each other like, okay, this is it, we can go now. So I gave Stan an out because we were all so tired. I said, Stan, all right, we're here. We can go now. And he said, boy, we didn't trek 10,000 miles for nothing. We're going down.
Exactly.
So we went down, another couple hour walk down to the actual location. So Stan is a trooper, 100%.
Absolutely. Incredible, strong spirit. Like, wow. Amazing.
Can Stan hear?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Holly was reminding me, I kind of left part of the story out, how we found the guides, the rangers, to go up to the Kumnana.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where were we going that day? Where we stopped at that office?
Well,
Was
that's the entrance. Sorry, that was the entrance into the Conservancy. That's like the headquarters for the Conservancy. And we actually went in just to ask some questions. And that's when we met Melita. And whenever you pulled out your computer and started showing them the satellite images and things, all of a sudden he had called over this guy, he called over that guy, and then we had a huge crowd around him.
Yeah.
And that's how pretty much the whole trip. Everywhere we went, and Stan started to talk with them about how special their country really is, and the jewel that they have there in the Garden of Eden. People just loved to hear his message. They wanted to hear it. They wanted to hear more about it, and they gave us their full support.
Green light to anything, yeah.
And they wanted to come with us. They're like, no, we're going to come with you. You know, they didn't want us to go by ourselves. We're going to come with you. We want to come with you on this, this pilgrimage. So it was
They were actually also filming and making pictures of the whole area.
As we were going through.
As we were going through.
Yeah, so that was at the Ngorongoro entrance, the headquarters there where we first met them.
My question was, on that day,
It was the first day.
Yeah,
we didn't plan to go and gather all these people together. We were going somewhere else that day. Do you remember where we were going?
There was the gorge that we were going to. That was the second day. But we remember we went there. We wanted to find out where we needed to go to get permission.
Yes.
Right.
To get the red dirt, to maybe hike up to that special place, Kumnana, or wherever the correct pronunciation is, and then they gave us the location of the Conservancy headquarters up there towards the Crater Ridge, where we went the next day to meet Paul.
Yes.
And
we went over then to the Conservancy, and the number one guy that I had to, I tried like 4 or 5 times emails and phones to reach this guy that's the director, but this particular day, I mean, he'd never answered me, right? So this particular day, he was down in Dar es Salaam with the government doing some kind of paperwork. So his number 2 guy, Paolo, was in charge. And so we went to see him, and we explained, what we're wanting to do. And as Jared said, I got the computer out on his desk, and we filmed all this in 4K resolution, really good films that we'll be putting together in a video. But anyway, talking with him, showing him, he was impressed. They all like the 3D thing where you zoom in with Google Earth and spin around. Oh, wow, look. But when we explained it all and what the importance of it was, he started to smile, and then he brought out gifts for us, these metal pins, the Conservancies, and hats and maps. And he said, now you will need rangers. And he said, I'll get a license, I've got his... The guys that he appointed to help us are on the show images page. Slide 55 shows that, and slide 56, you see Paolo, the guy there on the right, who was the deputy director at the time. They gave us like red carpet treatment. We needed to go down into the crater where the Garden of Eden is, and we needed to go to what's called the Ingotati Hill, because that's where I'm pretty sure the 2 trees of the Bible, the tree of knowledge and the tree of life, were planted. There are 2 rises on it. It rises up above the floor of the crater, and you can see any tree on there from anywhere in the crater floor except for one little spot over near a little hill. And so Adam and Eve had no excuse. It was a raised area. There were 2 trees there, and don't go there. Don't get up on that. You don't accidentally go up that Ingotati Hill and eat of the fruit. You can see it. It's a no-no. So anyway, we need
not
to
only that, but it was specifically, as we saw when we got there, there's still remnants of a crown of fig trees at the edge of the hill. That's probably the only thing surviving besides the grass there, the fig trees that are surrounding it. And when we got to the top, they had that little section that was caged off, and we asked the guys, what are they doing? And you saw a kind of a light bulb switch in Elias's head whenever he said, well, they're testing the grass here because it grows better than anywhere else. Like, he was like, whoa. So everybody just started like, oh my goodness, this might really be the spot. They started to get involved and get into it. So,
and we asked when was this research closed, and they said a year ago. So it's definitely, it's a movement going on there. Research, yeah.
Yeah, I know from other experience in Australia that ground up rocks from certain volcanic deposits will make crops grow very well. And we know that the Ngoro crater, the Garden of Eden, once was a volcano taller than Mount Kilimanjaro, but it collapsed straight down and made the crater floor that we've got now, the collapsed crater. But the fact that they are doing these tests all over the crater, especially up on Ingatati Hill, for the fertility of the ground, tells you that there's something special about it. And just as a side note, we remarked to ourselves as we were driving through the place how peaceful it felt. And, you had zebras and elephants, and you had lions kind of lazing around. You had lions next to animals and stuff.
Yes.
And they weren't gritting at each other. They all ate the same food
All
and
together.
water.
Yeah.
Stan, that is unbelievable. Please continue, sir.
Yeah. And the wildebeest, you've seen this on the Discovery Channel, I'm sure, with the wildebeest migration every year. They go, in a big circle over to Kenya and then back into Tanzania, and you'll see them falling off the cliff as they cross across the river. And wildebeest do this, zebras do this, but in the Garden of Eden, the wildebeest, the zebra, none of them do walkabout. None of them migrate. They say, well, migrate. Why do we need to migrate? We got food, weather, protection.
If only we had emulated the wildebeest, Stan. Humanity would be different since day one. So just to pause for a moment and give our listeners and viewers a second to catch up, Stan Deyo and our special guests, debut guests, Jared and Kristina Groetsch, just explained that there is a place in Tanzania, Africa, where predator and prey are in visual sight of one another, and for lack of a better term, Stan, they're just chilling.
Yeah.
Look, there weren't lambs there. I mean, the lion didn't lay down with the lamb, but he lay down with the antelopes and stuff, and the black rhinos. And I mean, you just get out of your Land Cruiser, you look around, and they're all mixed together. And the lions, they don't go and attack, healthy animals for food. There's a small lion population of 50 in the crater, and they get diseases occasionally and die off. It's the way God balances the populations. But they look for the old or lame members of the herd they're going to eat, and they take those. And everybody knows. I mean, the antelopes and all the other animals, they know that the lions are only going to take the weak or sick ones, and it's kind of the cleanup crew, but it feeds them. And because of that, I mean, these lions, we drove up to this kind of old fallen tree. We found a whole family of them sitting there kind of yawn, and we were about 10 feet from them hanging out the window going, hey, smile.
Wow.
But the fact that they were so peaceful, you'll see these in the videos that we've got.
These pictures are amazing. I just want to briefly, for our listeners, this episode in total will be available shortly after we wrap this evening, and then the segmented piece with Stan, Jared, and Kristina will be available tomorrow after 5 p.m. But listeners who are joining us on BTR and Global Star, you've got to see these photos. They are absolutely unbelievable. Stan?
Okay. You were asking earlier, saying who did the photos. We had Jared and Kristina trained on the Sony 4K camera. It's a high resolution camera. It was a learning experience for all of us. And then we had our cell phones. Then we had our individual cameras. We have film from all sorts of devices. I've got like a 1 terabyte disk drive full of stuff, and it is so just wonderful. So much of it is just like things that people have never seen before. We remarked to the director there, or the assistant director. People film the animals. They do a close-up and a special the animal wildebeest migration, but they forget all the beauty of the trees and land and rivers and stuff. There are 2 great rivers that fall off the northern part of the crater down into water it, and all down that those rivers are fig trees. They grow in the river. Believe me, that's where Eve would have woven the leaves together to make her fig leaf thing. And anyway, it's just such a beautiful place that you feel the peace between all the animals living there together. And they just wander in between each other. It's not a herd of zebra over here and a herd of wildebeest over here. They just wander through each other. Hey, how you going? What's the news over on your side? Yeah, okay. Very peaceful.
Stan, you've got... I'm sorry, go ahead, Kristina.
So I just wanted to add, like big elephants with their tusks, like passing through, and they're just so gentle beasts, like going. Oh, it was, oh my gosh, it's absolutely incredible view. And you must see it on live. You should like have the opportunity to see it and experience it. It's absolutely hard. Breathtaking.
I've got to figure out a way to talk Doug Hagmann into sending a reporting team out to Tanzania. Stan, you have the ebullience, sir, right now of about a 16-year-old. It's so awesome to hear. I'm loving it. And I want to ask, just to shift gears a little bit, because Jared mentioned this earlier today, and it actually piqued my curiosity in as much as we talked briefly with Stephen Minking in the previous hour about how Christians can do these micro loans to the people of Tanzania, and it's kind of an opportunity to pay our blessings forward, etc. But I wanted to ask the three of you, if you would, for our listeners and viewers, talk a little bit about the spiritual demeanor of Jared. You mentioned that you were just stunned by how many Christians are in Tanzania.
Yeah, there's something that nobody really highlights. You know, like Stan was saying, they go to Serengeti, they film the lions and zebras and things, and
do the safari.
Yes,
great. It's a great adventure, but yeah.
And then they pretty much stop there. But whenever you go, especially to the Ngoro crater and the Conservancy area there, the people, you can see the kindness in their eyes that you don't see very frequently in the United States. And the sincerity whenever they really want to help you, or when they shake your hand and they look at you in your eyes, you get to see they're happy people. And the majority of them actually were Christian folks. So the driver, Ellie, that was driving us around, take us on the tour, mentioned to us the condition of his village. And he has a 1,500 member village not far from Kilimanjaro. And he says, you know, we work hard, we want to grow crops and feed our family, but water is a big problem. And just talking with him, we could see, I mean, we have, you know, in the United States, we just leave the water running. We don't even think about it. But all he wants is water, you know? And he said, if we could dig a well to 70 feet or 70 meters, whatever it was, Stan, he said we could water the whole village, 1,500 people. So we're thinking, bing, here we go. You know, we were already thinking about giving charity to the Conservancy, perhaps to their local church there. But this was just one thing that we absolutely can do and are going to do. Get with Ellie. He's going to be the one kind of getting the quotes on those type of things. And we'll start a GoFundMe page, Stan, if that's what you suggested, or something similar. And we'll start 100% gathering funds together to do these wells. So
Jared, I'm sorry, Stan, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Well, Jared, I wanted to ask Kristina and yourself, I was able to infer from our conversation earlier today that you're really two global travelers. You've been a number of places, and this area of this crater sounds so unique. Have you been, either of you, in any other place on the planet that had the same serenity or the same unique spiritual wealth?
No, I would say no. I mean, I've been to Israel and traveled all around there. There's definitely a different sense there. When you're in the Galilee area, you can kind of sense Jesus' presence there to some levels. This place was beyond words. As we were kind of leading up to the climax of the trip, which was actually going down into the crater, which we did on the last day, or one of the last days that we were there. As you enter into the red dirt trail and the bright green acacia trees, cover over the trail, like Kristina was saying, the fog every morning covered the area and wet the whole ground, made everything very vibrant and lush there. And as you're driving through, it's kind of like you're entering a natural Jurassic Park. And as you're driving down that rich red dirt road and opens up, and you see just all the animals that Stan talked about, all the different micro systems there, the marshlands where birds are, the cranes,
sanctuaries. Oh my God,
the hippos in the pools, Has so many different animal varieties in that one spot, and it doesn't seem so large when you're looking up from the ridge down, but when you get down there, it's quite expansive. Amazing place. And no, if the Garden of Eden was on Earth physically, like Stan is mentioning here, this is the place, without a doubt. And you definitely sense that when you're there.
Yeah. On the water. Getting feedback. Sorry. On the water issue there, we did see people all through Tanzania in that area where we were from Arusha up into the Ngoro Plateau. They would collect water from some well maybe 2, 3, 4 kilometers away in little 20-liter plastic containers and either carry it themselves on their back or on a donkey. And you had to do that every morning just for your day's water. You had to go hike and get that and carry it back. And it changes your life when you see this for real, that all these people need is just a water supply. And even these things they bring back, these 20-liter things of water, they will boil it, they will purify it, just like we would. And so they don't get sick from well water, things like that. So I know that we need to do something to help them. And Ellie, our guide.
And Stan, I don't mean to interrupt, but did you say earlier that people are not allowed to dig for water, that they have to get certain permissions or pay money to do that? Or am I thinking of something else? Oh, I know you talked about the drone not having the rights over the air or being able to fly a drone. Yeah. But I mean, the water. What's the deal with not being able to generate enough water? Is it that they don't have the technology? It's not in that area.
They've got a new president of the country. John starts with an F. I forget the name. He's a Christian fella. If you remember, correct me, Kristina. But anyway, this guy is Christian. He replaced the old president who had a lot of cronies in there. The first thing this president did 2 years ago was to fire 1,500 government employees that get out, you're just corrupt, and replaced them with good Christian people. And the next thing he did was for Tanzania, he said, okay, the rich have been paying no taxes, and you've been taxed heavily, so we're going to lower your tax, and we're going to make the rich pay tax. So he's like the John Trump of Tanzania. I mean, just absolutely brilliant guy. Everybody loves him. And so now if he says, we're going to develop such and such an area or this tribe or that tribe, they're doing it by steps. He's taking steps to try to get his people water and power. So don't think that they're not doing their part. They are certainly very industrious people, but like with Ellie's village, they are remote. They're up in the highlands a bit. And so they want to put in solar panels. They know how to do it. They know where to get the plastic pipe. They can dig the thing. They can dig down probably 40 foot, maybe 10 or 15 meters by hand. But during the dry season, you don't get water. You have to get down 70 meters. And they've done all the research. So I'm thinking these people are industrious. They're not sitting there waiting for a handout. They just need a bit of help to get the tools, and they'll do it. So there's just one village. I'm sure there are others to do it. And the fact that there are Muslims in this country as well as Christians, but the Christian population is in the majority, and Kenya and Uganda and all these, and Somalia, all these other countries around, they're heavily influenced by the Muslims and the terrorists. So we've got this island of Christian believers that need our help.
Right.
We got to do it. We have to do it. I'm going to contact that John Robison's ministry there, that Water for Life outreach, and see if they can find us where to get discounts on various pumps and things we need to give those people. But anyway, that was one of the big takeaways from this, other than the Garden of Eden, was they are our brothers, our Christian brothers and sisters that need our help. They really do.
You make such an excellent point there, Stan, and I don't want to make too blanket a statement, but a couple of years ago it occurred to me that, and I was guilty of this, that I think many Americans have this strange America-centric idea of Christianity, like all the Christians on the planet are American, and maybe there's a couple over in England. And that couldn't be further from the truth. God's children are everywhere, and the Good Shepherd calls his flock from all four corners of this planet.
Yeah. Look, we found like in our lodge there, the Sopa Safari Lodge where we stayed on the rim. The guy that was the general manager for it, his name is Dedan, like the sons of Dedan, Dedan from the Bible. I said, are you related? Oh yeah, we came from the Holy Land. And you see that with so many of the people. Are we frozen?
No, we're good.
Okay, I think we lost Kristina. But anyway, Nathan, there was another guy there, the staff named Nathan. A lot of the staff had, Judeo-Christian names. And certainly Ellie, our driver and our guide, he said that their churches are a little different than ours in that they get into their music and make a joyous noise to the Lord, whereas we're pretty conservative in the States and in Europe. But he says, you might be surprised we're a bit active in our church, I said, that's fine. I can't sing worth a darn, but I can certainly make a joyful noise.
There you go.
Hey, quick question, Stan, and then we'll bounce it directly back to you. But I'm curious, when the diaspora occurred, Kristina and Jared mentioned traveling to Israel a moment or two ago. Stan, do you recall which tribe, which one of the 12 tribes would effectively have migrated to the area that you recently visited?
Oh, no, I couldn't tell you which one. I think there's a hodgepodge of them. The 10 northern tribes mainly went toward the Caucasus and into Europe and to Russia, but there could have been portions of those that went across into Africa. I know that probably in the last 10 years, there's been a lost African Hebrew tribe that has been flown back to Israel and rejoined, Israel as part of the family. So even Israel recognizes some of the tribes went to Africa. And of course, the Menelik I of Ethiopia claimed to be the son of King Solomon and the Queen Sheba. So, Sheba El. Yeah, that reminds me of something else. The Queen of Sheba, of course, Ethiopia and in that area. But when India connected to them, there's an area there that connected on to Somalia and Ethiopia. And that area in India has a river in it called the Sheba El, Sheba God in Hebrew. And there's just so many things that connect India and the Middle East, Israel, and Africa together. It's just mind-boggling. If you look, you're just going to find a wealth of things. People need to go down there and do more research than we've done. I mean, it's there's a lot left to find there. Now that we know it's there and the history, if we start digging, we're going to find more. It's not just making wells and stuff. It's finding our history for the world, and we hope that UNESCO, who have the in charge of the Ngoro Conservancy, that UNESCO will make this the number one treasure of the world. You say the 7 great things, but this is the number one, the first one where man was created, and it needs to be a world heritage. Whether you're Hindu, Hebrew, Christian, Muslim, whatever, Garden of Eden is at the root of all these.
Yeah,
this is a world treasure.
You talk about that's going to need more than a big plaque. That's a historical monument extraordinaire.
Yes.
Stan, I wanted to ask you quickly about the intra-religious component of the native people to this area. How does it break down as far as the tribalism, Islam, Christianity? Any idea on what we're looking at as far as demographics?
I don't know the percentages, but the Datoga tribes, there are 5 basic tribes in the Datoga group. They're the ones that have the click language, that kind of thing. They have occupied the Ngoro Plateau up until 180 years ago. They've dwelt there and lived there for 3,000 years. So they're still pretty much to themselves and resistant to Christianity or Islam or whatever. The Maasai moved in from Kenya and pushed the Datoga out of the Ngoro Plateau and south a bit. They had a shooting war, and the Maasai killed the chief and 3 of them actually that are buried there in the Ngoro crater now. But so those tribal mechanisms are kind of there. The Maasai are probably closer to becoming Christian than the Datoga. They don't like to be proselytized or witnessed to at the moment. And then of course the hunter-gatherers. Kristina, what do they call those guys? Are they part of the Datoga, the hunter-gatherers?
The Bushmen.
Yeah.
The Bushmen. Yeah, the Bushmen. But in the towns, you have a joint culture of Islam and Christianity. Didn't see many Jewish things, but that doesn't mean they're not there. We did find one thing that kind of tells you that the two religious philosophies are coexisting happily. The toilets. You have a toilet with a seat and a lid like we've got at home. You can sit on the toilet or do your business, whatever. But in the next little stall, there is a hole in the floor and a place on a mat where you put your feet. And there's no bowl. You just kind of drop it down a hole. That's the Islamic side. I'd hate to have diarrhea and have to use something like that, but anyway.
Yeah.
Holly say you didn't say that. Anyway, gosh. But anyway,
I just wanted to add something. I remember when we asked the chief, how old is he? And he said, I don't know. He didn't know how old is he. How amazing is that too? And we asked him, okay, how do you remember being here? And he said that his mother said that the only thing that he remembers is that his mother told him when he was little that it was a big rainy storm, and this is all he remembers. He doesn't know what year we are in, how old is he. All he knows, he has 5 wives taking care of him, and he's just sitting and eating baboon jerky. It was like, okay, like, wow.
Wait, hold on a second.
He was trying to proposition you to be at the 6th wife. You remember that?
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Kristina, did you just say baboon jerky?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's have fun for a minute. Tell us, Jared and Kristina, a little bit about the different kinds of food that you experienced. What was that like?
Oh, no, I didn't experience it, all right? No. we saw a baboon. It was already like gutted out and just drying out on a branch of a tree, and a jerky was hanging out on a line between their little houses. How would you say? Huts, little huts. And I was like, and there are flies, big flies on them. Like, okay. And the women with the children, that's what I noticed. They were very peaceful, sitting under the shade, just hanging out, and the guys were kind of with the bow and arrows, trying to hunt and show you, hunting and all that. It was incredible. That's what I noticed. Like, I saw peace. Children were very quiet. That means they were fed good. The guys had baboon skins on them as a protection.
Right. But as far as food is concerned, we were recommended not to have any bushmeat.
Anything.
And so we refrained from that and ate at the lodge, and everything was fine. Spectacular food,
Yes.
actually.
We laughed because, people, you say, I'm going on safari to Africa, and they're thinking, oh, you're going to be grub out in the tents and roughing it and, digging holes for toilets. And the Sofa Lodge, where we went, it's like eating at a 5-star hotel restaurant. I mean, we had beef and, chicken and all kinds of normal stuff.
Yes, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, we had champagne if we wanted, or wine. We had waiters, that also doubled as singers in the choir there. But they were just fabulous people. But we would laugh kind of to ourselves because people were thinking that we're in hardship there. It was great, that it was an island of European cuisine and customs and stuff right there in the middle of Africa.
Oh, Stan, you're giving me wanderlust here big time. Let me ask you this, maybe a little bit of an off-center question, but did you detect while you were there, Stan or Jared or Kristina, any sense that they have an issue there with self-medicating? Did you see any kind of indications of alcoholism or drug abuse or that type thing? I mean, are they consuming the antidepressants over in this area of the world as well?
No.
Not at all.
They're such a happy people. I'm telling you, it's like that commercial we used to see that guy said, "Be happy, man." I mean, they all smiled in the street. It wasn't like somebody wanting a handout from you or something. They were just naturally happy because they don't have the stresses we've got.
Yeah, and Ellie, our driver, specifically says he does not drink. His family does not drink. he did sip a little bit of champagne one night whenever we were toasting it. One of our last nights there, we had him come with us, but no, they don't have those type of issues there. They don't, of course, they don't have the technologies that we have here. And they were actually one of the first things that I was asked, or they mentioned to us, was, we hear you have machines where you put money in and food comes out. Like it's the greatest thing. I was like, oh, vending machine.
And Coca-Cola?
Yes, Coca-Cola on demand. Yeah, it comes out.
Yeah, you really have Coca-Cola machines. You put the quarter in there, or the money in it, and out comes a Coca-Cola. I said, yeah. And then I said, you're really going to wonder about this. I said, you're cleaning off your Land Cruiser, washing and everything. We have places where you put money in it, you drive your car in, and it gets washed for you by machines. Wow. But it tells you how far ahead we are and how spoiled we are, really, compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
As I said, it's just an incredible, humbling experience to go there. It really is. I couldn't suggest it more strongly. People, save your money and have a group go like when Perry Stone went to Israel. Well, you went there with him, Jared. Maybe this could be organized where you could get cut rates and things. But you had hot showers, you had electricity.
Eden tour. Hey.
Say.
Garden of Eden tour.
Yeah.
Well, yes. This is Stan. Let me ask you. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are probably really curious. But I'm not trying to get into personal finances here, but just ballpark. Like, what kind of chunk of change do our listeners or viewers need to put together to experience this?
Jared, for the three of us, airfares, the tour guides, and the meals and stuff, what would you say? $3,000 a pop, or for each of us?
Yeah, around $3,300 a person, $3,500 a person. We also, in the package, the tour guide included lunches and things like that. Also, Sopa Lodge is, a kind of an upscale 4 or 5 star type place. You don't have to stay at those lodges. There's other places you can go that's less expensive. The tickets were under $1,000 a piece. So, around $2,000 to $3,000, you can get there, get guided tours, protected guided tours, and have your meals and not get sick. It's not crazy expensive. Also, we went before June, and starting June 1st, the rain season ends. People are out of school, kids are out of school, so the vacation time starts. So rates do increase during the summer months.
Yeah,
Okay.
You're right, though. I mean, we did have the best affordable lodge on the rim. There are about 5 of them, but this was the primo site to look in the morning. You look out over the Garden of Eden. The others are kind of recessed, and the ones that kings and queens go to up the road from where we were, what do they call that, Kristina? What's the name of that other one?
Ngoro Lodge.
Lodge, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Ngoro Lodge. They charge $1,000 a person per night for that kind of place. And for the life of me, I can't see, why I would want to go there, because they're in the middle of the forest and they've got a view somewhere off the side, but not down where we were. So, as Jared said, there are others that are...
All the luxuries that cut us off with at a certain time. Our showers were from 5 to 8 hot water in the morning and 5 to 8 at night. And the Wi-Fi was only accessible in the central area, not accessible in the room. So that place probably has all those little extra luxuries like that. But I enjoyed not having a television and Wi-Fi in the rooms.
Jared, did you just confess to? Go ahead, Stan.
No, I'm just saying you're during the day you're out doing stuff. You're not going to be wanting to watch TV or do texting or whatever. You're doing stuff. You don't need it. Anyway, go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was curious. It sounds like Jared just confessed to taking 6 hours of showers a day, 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening. At least you got clean.
He takes long showers, but this is his time for prayer moment and meditation, so it's permitted to that. But yeah.
No, but the way the evenings there get quite chilly.
Oh.
You're up there. How high is it stand in elevation? 10,000 is it at the ridge there?
At the ridge, I think we're around 7,500, and then it's another 2,500 up the north. But down the crater floor is about 2,000 feet lower, so we're around 5,000. Oh yeah.
When the sun goes down, it does get a little chilly. You need to put a little sweater on, and then you'll have one of the workers there come by around 7 o'clock, and they have hot water bottles that they
like socks, and they put it into your bed, like 2 of them. Thank goodness I had my husband that we were keeping warm. But Stan, you use those socks, those warm socks, that they heat you up for the night, which is definitely a plus.
Yeah. You know, the other lodges that are there, there are probably, maybe 50 of them down off the crater, down in the flats close to Arusha. So it means that you'd have to drive an hour maybe from your hotel or your motel, whatever it is, up to the rim and over to the Olduvai Gorge. There are 4 other lodges on the crater rim on the north side and south side. And they have lower rates, but then again, you know, probably not all the accoutrements that we had where we were. So most of these places will pack a lunch for you. Your tour guide will say, okay, today we're going to Olduvai Gorge, and then we're going to Serengeti. What would you like in your picnic lunch? And they pack a picnic lunch so full that you can't eat it all. And so your guide usually takes that, they put them all together, and they give them to the Maasai children, what you don't use. So, yeah, they do that, you know, the picnic lunch business. And I asked Ellie, our guide, how many other tour companies. I think he said there was about 300 tour companies. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And they're going, you know, all the time, taking people down into the crater and out into the Serengeti and various other places. Some places it takes a day to get there. Just you have to get up real early and get there and then come back late at night. The time of year that you go is pretty important. As Jared was saying, May, toward the last half of May when we went, is when the rainy season is just finishing up and roads are dry and you can get around easily. But also because at that time of year, people don't come there very often. When we went down into the crater, there was us and maybe 1 or 2 other Land Cruisers in 100 square miles. You know, it's like our own private thing. But come June, he says, you know, there will be a caravan of Land Cruisers, you know, butt to butt going down the roads to these places. So you feel kind of like you're in a sausage factory if you go that time of the year. So you have to kind of plan it, you know, and talk to people, your tour guides, and say, all right, I want to go there when the traffic is less because you'll enjoy it more.
Mm-hmm.
Stan, before you guys left, you were telling me that you had to get all these different shots and vaccinations and whatnot. From where you were, did you see people suffering from any of the ailments that you were vaccinated against?
No, it didn't. However, I did tie into some ice cubes somewhere, I think it was, and I got attack of the trots the last day before we were going, and but it was over 24 hours. So, no, I didn't see anybody else getting sick.
Okay.
We did learn a lot, like you don't wear blue clothing, you know, bright colors or blue clothing particularly, because the tsetse flies are attracted to that, the sleeping sickness flies. So you wear tan colors, warm, you know, subtle colors. And, you know, with if you're going to be out hiking around outside the vehicle, some do, some don't. But you need to have blousing garters for your trousers to seal off your boots with this garter around your trouser leg down at the boot level to keep ants and other creepy crawlers from climbing up your leg like someone forgot to do.
Stan, quick question for you. I can't believe I would be remiss if we didn't ask you this. For our listeners who are new to Stan Deyo, Stan Deyo and his wife Holly Deyo are just a great blessing to the preparedness-minded community. Holly Deyo is the author of Dare to Prepare. And, of course, you can find that at standeyo.com. Stan, when you went on these expeditions, I have to ask you, did you pack some gear? Did you have a bug-out bag or an everyday carry, some kind of go-tos in case maybe, I don't know, the Range Rovers break down, et cetera? Anything for our prepper listeners and viewers?
I'm going to tell first, jerky. He had a lot of beef jerky, like a lot.
And we had water. We tanked up with water, and our guide, Ellie, he stocked extra bottles. Everybody has plastic water bottles, you know, the Avion type water bottles there. And it's just common that people buy the bottled water. We also had an onboard two-way radio, and we're never too far from a ranger post of some sort, so that we heard him talking back and forth to them. So we didn't feel like we were ever in any danger. I did take a first aid kit, snake bite kit, and things like that. But other than that, we had the bushcraft with our driver. I mean, he's a local and knows how to do it. So I remember one day we were in the Serengeti, and we'd been around seeing the lions and the giraffes and everybody, and he took us up to a nice little spot in the hillside there with shade trees over us and birds singing, and we looked out over the Serengeti, that part of it there, and he made a picnic table for us, and we had fresh made coffee and sandwiches. It was, and we could almost feel like we were back thousands of years when it was new. It just, and Serengeti, by the way, in Maasai means endless plain. And believe me, that's what it looks like, endless plain. But on the edges of it is where you see these trees and rivers and little small lakes and gatherings of various animals. Apparently, the zebra come in a certain time of day to the water hole, and then they move off and let the wildebeest come in, and then the giraffe comes in, and they just automatically take turns. It's just an amazing system to watch. Just amazing. Go. We don't make any money, but go. If you want to go and you need advice on it, well, we could probably tell you where to get everything you need. But
you see most of the documentaries and things like that. They hit the Serengeti, but rarely does anybody cover the most precious part, which is in Ngorongoro Conservancy. It is absolutely lush, beautiful animals. You don't have to go to the dusty Serengeti, endless plain, where there's not a lot of grass the majority of the year. It's very dusty. You come back covered head to toe. The Conservancy has everything for you right there, and the crater in particular has everything. It really is like a natural Jurassic Park. And whenever you're guided with the ranger with his AK-47, he's not there to protect you from pirates or terrorists, which a lot of Westerners might think that stuff's going on. He's just there to make sure wild animals don't get after you. Every night as we were leaving the lodge restaurant, going to our room, we'd have an armed guard walk us back, because the wild animals are everywhere. But we were never in danger from the terroristic or humans, but it just maybe sometimes by animals. But even at that, it was a wonderful experience all the way around.
Definitely.
Is there a lot of hunting? Where you were at, do they do like the safaris that we see so many of the people crying out about on the news around here, where they go big game hunting?
Didn't see any at all. You might see it in South Africa or down in the Congo maybe, or something like that, but not where we were. Everybody just peaceful.
Well,
and they're very protective over the land, over the animals. Yeah. Inside of the crater, you could not get out of the vehicle. Now we went to the Office of Tourism and to the Conservancy head, and he gave us special permission to go to Komnana, to go into the crater, to get out at certain places. So we were given some privileges that most people aren't, but they're very, very protective of the area, and rightfully so. It's a wonderful place.
Yeah, Jared's right. We got special privileges to see the Three Trees area where the Datoga chiefs are buried. You can't go in there on the normal tours and things, but we had three rangers with us, and we walked into there and saw the graves. And it's a special place that the Datoga tribe comes to once a year for 3 days. They let them come back to their homeland, and they do ceremonies there to their ancestors and whatever. But so we filmed all this so that people that can't go will be able to see, what it's about. And the same with Ingatati Hill, which we think the two trees of origin of life were planted. You can't just drive up there normally. It's part of a conservancy for hyena projects and various other things. It's locked off. But again, they let us do that, and we could film it so we could share with you what it looks like up on top, and get the benefit of seeing the fig trees, and looking out where on the west side where the hippos are and stuff like that. It's just a number of these things that they let us do, and the good Lord was in it, because we just had carte blanche, and never really asked for it. They just gave it to us. And so, anyway, the things that you can't get to normally, we filmed so that you could see it.
So are you planning another safari there, or are you going to go somewhere else next time, Stan? What are your future plans?
We're going with Holly. Let me talk. Sorry. We're going with Holly and we're taking the kids.
Holly, she's saying, oh, yeah, she's waving.
Oh, that's my girl.
Well, let's say that I think that was the last Indy Deyo trip for a while. Anyway, I think I'm going to enjoy my iced tea over here in comfort. But anyway, yeah, Kristina's thinking about going back down there and maybe even getting into business there someplace and having a home one day. But that's when we all get rich.
Stan, I can't help but do this to you. Just one question off topic, but the volcanoes lately, Kilauea, and then what the heck happened? Now, you, I believe, were out of the country, but my goodness, a few days ago, we had this enormous volcanic eruption near Guatemala City. What's the death count at, Joe?
Oh, goodness. Was that 65, I think, last time we saw it? And it's kind of just disappeared from the news. It's one of the
It's hit 70 now, Holly said, and there were several hundred that were wounded. And we have a friend down there, Bob, who was sending us pictures of the ash falling on his car and his yard, his dog. But I do think that the volcanic activity is increasing. I am also pretty much certain that the sun is doing what I've been expecting it to do. We're going to have a very hot year and several years going on where the sun is going to be putting out more energy in various wavelengths than it had before. I think you'll see this year certain areas of this country will be very hot and others will be very wet, like flooding and tremendous disparity between the two. The Kilauea thing, as I said before I left even to go to Tanzania, the Kilauea thing is a matter of island building on the state side of the Big Island. The movement of the crust of the earth is slowed down, and so it's allowing the heat to build up and erupt at that spot instead of making a string of islands like it did originally. I also noticed, what was it, that they were doing the test, Holly, in Arizona for evacuation of Californians from earthquake and stuff and volcano? Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, they did a test simulation of 400,000 people coming out of California as escaping volcanoes and earthquakes, and this is a couple of weeks back. So when mainstream starts doing this, then the big one is at our doorstep. There are going to be massive changes in this country, and I think because of the way we've turned away from God, that the judgments are going to be heavy and soon. Stan,
is there an average? Is it normal to have active volcanoes, very active at the same time? Or is this due to what you're talking about, the increased activity from the earthquakes to just the cycles of nature and the spiritual forces? Or is this something that we've seen before? Multiple volcanoes, that are active going off at the same time.
Yeah, there are hundreds that are active across the planet. The things that are of interest are the ones that are where we have civilization, settlements that haven't had volcanoes for a long time. These are in areas that we haven't seen them before, or recently anyway. Mm-hmm. And the earthquakes are also, you can do the numbers and say, oh, well, the statistics show, a fairly level line of this value, like Richter 4s or 5s. But you go up to Richter 6s and 7s, you start to see, as I've plotted on the show before, you start to see that we have a steady increase in these things over the last 100 years. And the sun is the big mystery at the moment, because the Russian data has shown positively that half of the hydrogen fuel for our sun has already been consumed. It's now in a stage where it might start making a helium fusion reaction, which will put out more heat, different wavelengths, and because of the shortening of time, that I talked about before, as far as radiocarbon dating, things like that, we may be seeing our sun in early stages of red giant. And just like the book of Revelation says at the end, the earth and the heavens as we know it will pass away in a fiery heat. and a new earth and a new heavens will replace that. So we're looking at some massive things in the next 1,000 years. And the early stages of it happen
Stan,
now.
let me do this. We'd be remiss if we didn't give you this opportunity. We have about a minute. Stan, this segues beautifully. If we have a coronal mass ejection, or God forbid, an asymmetric warfare attack vis-a-vis an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, take about 60 seconds and tell us about EMP Shield, please, Stan.
Well, my partner, Tim Cardy, and I have put together a device, about 30 different models of it, to take the high voltage that comes from a nuclear EMP or from a solar EMP and take that extra voltage and put it down into ground and divert it away from your home and your instruments that are connected by plugs to your power supply from the mains. This is necessary to protect your computers, cameras, anything else that you have plugged into the house. It won't protect things that are not plugged in. You need special bags, Faraday bags for that. But the bottom line is that's good. You save everything that you can, that it won't be zapped by the high voltage. But then where do you get the power from after that? And that's what we're working on our stage 2, is trying to get electricity from the atmosphere to supply power after the mains go down.
Very fascinating. Again, folks, go to standeyo.com, check out the show images page. There you can see some of the wonderful pictures that Stan and crew took of the beautiful plains of Africa. And just a fascinating hour and a half, Stan. Thank you so much. And also to Jared and to Kristina, thank you so much. Their website, blackseajewelers.com. That's blackseajewelers.com.